Now we're doing No Country for Old Men. Starts out with the police arresting this guy by the name of Anton. When they go to the police station, there's only one cop there, taking a phone call. Anton ends up killing him by strangling him with the handcuffs that are already placed on him. Done dealed his ass. He leaves out and he's always carrying around his oxygen tank. Steals a police car, pulls up on this one dude, uses the hose part of the oxygen tank, puts that air rod piece to his head, done deal, kills him. I'm like, the fuck? The air pressure is serious business, dog. He did all that just so he could switch cars. We got this guy by the name of Moss. He's out here hunting deer. He ain't getting nothing. When he goes over to check, he sees blood. It don't look like deer blood. Gets his binoculars, he sees a dog limping in the distance, and gets curious. Goes over to the spot, it's a bunch of trucks just chilling. Apparently it was a gang war because everybody's in those trucks with done deal dead as shit. And the other dog too. He finds one guy, the truck's still alive, asking for water. There's a bunch of Mexicans out there. Checks the back of his trunk, it's kilos of cocaine. So apparently by the trajectory of the blood, he thinks one of them niggas got away. He looks beyond, sees two trees, there's a body by the tree. He goes over, the other guy's done deal dead as shit, but he had a briefcase. This briefcase contained $2 million in it. Takes the briefcase and dips out. Takes some of their guns and all that. He goes back to this little hotel spot, meets up with his wife Carla. Tries to get some sleep, but he's about to leave back out again. So what's he leaving back out for? Fills up a thing of water so he can go back to give this guy some water. I'm like, he should have thought about the whole situation about never even going back to that shit. Anyway, he goes back there, the guy's dead. Like, the dude was shot in the stomach. You think he was gonna last through the night? He parked his car in the distance, come to find out there's another car parked right next to him. Some more Mexicans try to see what's up, they get the chase going. Dives off a cliff, gets into the river, dog's chasing him through the water. He gets on land, loads up the pump, and right before the dog gets him, he bangs off. He escaped for now. So apparently he had put the money in a spot somewhere. He goes back to the spot and says, fuck this shit, Carly, we gotta get the fuck out of here. Meanwhile, Anton's with a couple of these older dudes. They go to the spot to survey the territory. Then Anton ends up popping both of them. Done deal dead as shit. So at this point, we're thinking he's some type of hired mercenary just trying to get this money back. After he pop niggas, we just assume he works alone. Sheriff Ed is in on the investigation. He's got his partner with him because honestly, he thinks he's too old for this shit anymore. The Wild Wild West out here, everybody getting out of control. This is one scene where Anton's talking to the gas station attendant. I ain't gonna lie, that whole scene gave me chills. Basically betting this man's life on heads and tails of a coin. Like, you know, some real life Two-Face shit. Meanwhile, Moss gives Carla some money to get on the bus so she can get up out of there. He says he's gonna make it back to her and all that, and they're gonna be rich, and they're gonna do what they need to do. Moss after that got to hide out in hotels. So he gets to this one hotel, and what he does is he opened up one of the vents, throws the money in there. Then he goes to the hardware store, pick up some stuff. Gets a shotgun pump, got these poles for tents. As he's coming back to the spot, he feels like somebody's there. So what he does is goes to the attendant. He gives him a map of the whole hotel, and he wants to get another room. So why does he need a map? So he can see the vents. So he goes in this other room, checks the vent, and the briefcase is there so he can pull it out through there. Meanwhile, Anton's been doing his own investigation. He found his place of residence, found out some people he called, he's got a listing. And he gets in the area of the hotel. Now, how's he do that? Because apparently he's got a tracker. And it starts going off when he gets closer to the briefcase. That's right, there was a hidden tracker inside the briefcase. So he gets to the scene, he's got his oxygen tank thing, and he's got a rifle with a suppressor on it. You think he's about to enter the right room? He entered this room with a bunch of Mexicans in it, and he done deals them niggas. Moss was able to get away. Then we're introduced to this guy by the name of Carson, who apparently knows Anton very well. So one of the subordinates instructs Carson to find Anton and finish him because he's getting too carried away. But that's just who he is. So anyway, Carson's on the hunt. Miles gets to another hotel. He's got this ominous feeling. He's got a shotgun pump ready. He starts digging through the money and he finds the tracker. So he knows Anton's coming. This is back and forth crazy shootout as the run goes. Miles tries to get away with the stranger. Stranger gets shot. Crashes the truck. Anton checks the truck. Miles ends up shooting him in his leg. Miles gets away, but barely. Both of them for the time being are pretty much in bad shape. Miles in worse shape. So Miles at this point is over there by the border. He's walking towards the border and he spots these kids. He says they'll give him $500 for a coat that he got. So yeah, give me that beer too. So because he's still got this briefcase, he's not taking the chance of crossing the border with that shit. So he throws it into the tall grass. He's gonna remember where the spot is. Then he crosses the border. Meanwhile, Anton, he ends up blowing up this random car as a distraction. He can get some stuff out the pharmaceutical store. So while he's cleaning that up, next thing we know, Moss is in the hospital, and Carson's right there to pay him a visit. Carson's like, look man, I found you in 3 hours. If I could find you, Anton could definitely find you. So they get to talking. We found out they both were in Vietnam together. They did 2 different tours or something like that. Carson tells us, look, I know Anton. He don't give a fuck about the money at this point. It's about principle. He's like, even if you give him the money, he's gonna kill you regardless. The question is, do you want him going after Carla? Because you know that's what he's going to do. Carson leaves out and goes to his hotel. When he's going there, all of a sudden, Anton's right behind him. And he knows he's done deal the moment he gets inside that hotel. They get in the room, Carson dead as shit. The phone rings for Anton, all of a sudden it's Moss on the other end. He tells him like, look man, I'm going to get you your money. Bottom line is, don't touch Carla. And you ain't going to get to her because bottom line, this is going to be between me and you. Meanwhile, Carla's with her grandmother, who's sick. She got cancer. She don't feel like going to El Paso, Texas. But that's where they're supposed to be going. But what we don't know is Mexicans are following behind them. Then we get this scene where Moss is going to another hotel. This is after he got changed up, got back across the border, and got the briefcase back. All of a sudden, the Mexicans run up on Carla and the grandma. They act like they just try to help out. Grandma giving up information. Now, Lieutenant Ed and Carla have been talking. Now, Carla really hasn't been saying much, but Ed knows Moss is in danger and he really wants to help out. Because he knows it's worse people after him. Then Carla tells him the hotel that he's staying in. But when he gets there, it's too little too late. Mexicans came through and they done dealt Moss right then and there. Moss, you weren't supposed to die off like that. Carla gets to the hotel, she gets the news. Sad. Ed goes to this bar spot, he talks to some high chief advisor. Somebody he knew on the force for a long time. They basically talking about the good old days, how things are fucked up now. These young kids running the wild, wild west. After a while, Ed gets the idea to go right back to the hotel. At that point, we thought Anton was in there. Turns out he wasn't. Carl and the grandma were at the funeral of Moss. The conversation that Ed had with his friend let me know that the Mexican found some money, but they didn't find the whole briefcase. So after the funeral, Carla goes back to her house, to her grandma's house. She goes in another room and Anton's sitting in the living room. At this point, Anton don't care about the money. He said he made a promise to Moss to see Carla. It ain't good. Looking like Carla about to be done deal daddy shit. Next thing we know, we see him walking out the house. Oh, and by the way, in between all this, Anton did go back to knock off Carson's superior. So there you go with that. So Anton gets back at the car and he's driving off and I'm not even sure where he's going. All of a sudden the car comes out of nowhere and smacks clear into his car. And people are saying it don't make a whole lot of sense, but I thought the grandmother ran straight into him. Anyway, Anton's badly hurt. There's a bone popping out the socket. These little kids looking like, hey man, you okay? He gets a shirt from one of the kids and makes a sling out of it. Gives one of the little boys some money and then he dips off. Next thing we see, Ed visits an old friend, talks to him about criminals and war stories. Then he goes home to his wife and he basically retires from the force. He said, man, this shit's too crazy for me at this point anymore. I'm getting older. I had enough of it. Basically took the Danny Glover route. Too old for this shit. Then he gives a story about his dad. And that's the end of the movie. Now I'm thinking to myself, had Moss never went back to the scene of the crime, some of this shit wouldn't even be taking place. Yeah, the tracker was still in the briefcase, but still. I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna assume Carla did die after the coin flip, which she was not trying to call heads or tails on. Cause the thing is, Anton was about principle. He was murking everybody else, so I don't see why he wouldn't have murked her. I still think the grandmother was the one that hit his car. She could be like, I got cancer anyway, fuck it. So I'm thinking to myself, did she ever go back to the house and see Carla and then just went the fuck off? How would she have known it was him though? Anyway, all I can say is this is a wild experience. No country for old men, you better go find it. You already know what it is, Mr. Big, you got this slogan.